What is up, my brothers from another mother? So in today's video, I'm going to go over the top dating tips for guys in their 30s. I did a video a week or two ago about top dating tips for guys in their 20s because the younglings are always asking questions about things that they get stuck on. And it was well received, and a few of you guys said, great, do one now for guys in their 30s. So let's go down the rabbit hole of the best dating tips you can get in your 30s. I guess what I should probably start off noting is that you've really got two options when you get into your 30s. You can keep doing what you're doing while you're in your 20s, which was basically, not getting into long-term relationships, dating, but at least understanding yourself, tuning into your intuition, subscribing to it, figuring out what you want to do in life, building your career, yourself, your business, whatever it is that you want it to do. Usually by the time guys get into their 30s, it sometimes even happens in their late 20s, they start thinking about settling down, getting married, having a few kids, that sort of thing. So you can go down one of two paths at this point. So I'm going to give you the best tips I possibly can from experience and from the guys that I've coached as well on what you can possibly do to make better choices in your 30s when dating women. So the first thing that you need to understand is women as they get older, and many guys don't really get this until later on in life, but women as they get older, they start to realize that the window that they have for reproduction is slowly but surely closing. Now what that means is women are very aware that every month an egg drops, and that's one less egg that they have to have kids with. And the feminine imperative, female nature, is to reproduce. I've talked about baby rabies before, probably in a video or two in the past, and it's a real thing. Sometimes for women it happens in their 20s, in their late 20s. For almost all of them exclusively, it will happen by the time they're in their 30s, where they have this strong, yearning, unknown desire to find a mate and reproduce. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's human biology. That's what we're all designed to do by nature. But the problem with that is, as that window closes for women, they have less and less. What the hell is this dude doing on the on-ramp? That's not a good place to be, bud. As that window starts to close for them, they have less and less time. And they recognize that because as each month passes, they know an egg drops and, there's another period that's gone. Usually by the time women get into their late 30s and even, 40s, the risk of a high-risk pregnancy is very, very high. What that means is they can end up with more complications. They can end up with developmentally challenged kids, autism, retardation, all kinds of stuff. So they start to recognize, holy crap, I've done whatever in my 20s. For some of them, it's working really hard to establish their career. Some of them, it's screwing the pooch. Some of them, it's riding the cock carousel. I know there's a lot of guys that have commented on all these different angles. We'll set that aside. But the thing is usually by the time women hit their 30s, you have to recognize their imperative is to reproduce, and they have baby rabies. So how do you guys handle that? What do you do? Well, we're gonna take another big fat red pill today and have a little more awareness about feminine imperative and that need to reproduce. If you haven't read the book already, The Rational Male is linked below in the low bar of the description of the video. You should read it. It's recommended reading for all guys. It'll give you a lot more insight to the stuff that I can do in a very short video today for you. But let me get into the sorts of things that I've seen, heard, experienced, any combination of those things. Women will do whatever it will take to lock you down, fellas. One is the first thing that you need to know. So let's just kind of deal with that. Let's kind of go down that road for a little bit. They will act and behave in a way that will bring them closer to their desired goal. And you're thinking to yourself, don't say that, Rich. Not all women are the same. They don't behave like that. And I know some of you ladies are probably going to comment. Please feel free to say something below and engage in the conversation. But it is true. I had a coaching call the other day with a guy that was talking to me. He was 35. His girlfriend was the same age. And he was talking about his plans for the future and what he was going to do with his life. And he started talking about his relationship, and he was wondering if it was the right thing. She wanted to settle down and have kids. And an interesting thing happened, which will put this in the spotlight, so you guys will understand exactly what I'm talking about. For the first 6 months of the relationship, there was a lot of turmoil, there was conflict, things weren't easy peasy. It wasn't everything was tickety-boo and everything's fine. Usually there's a good stretch of a honeymoon stage when you start dating somebody, but there was a lot of rough seas for him, let's just put it that way. And then when he announced that he was able to secure three very, very good opportunities, very well-paying, secure opportunities in North America. He was living across the pond. I'm not going to say where, but he was living across the pond. And this would have been a good lifestyle upgrade for him and his girlfriend. It would have significantly improved their life, their cash flow, tax bracketing, everything. There's a reason why a lot of people move to North America. Those that have will understand it. Those that haven't will just go, yay, America, or Canada if you want to be a mangina. I'm stuck here, but we'll talk about that some other time. So as soon as that 6-month mark happened, when he had that opportunity open to him, he now had really, really great future prospects, and all of the conflict and fighting went away. And she started talking about wanting to settle down and having kids. Let that sink in for a second. I don't even need to talk about the details of that. I just want that to sink in for a second. 6 months of some rough seas, things all of a sudden look great in the future. They have the opportunity to both move to North America and live a brand new life in a better country. Turmoil stops. She wants to settle down and have kids. Okay? That is the feminine imperative. That is basically class 101. That's everything that you need to know. And that's basically how women operate. That is the frame in which they're going to operate in their 30s when they're looking to lock down a guy. Now, they will start to act, and they can act in any number of different ways. They may stop behaving badly, they may make concessions, they may compromise, you may get outrageous, epic, mountains crumble to the sea and an S-cape falls out of her vajayjay, sex, but you may see a change in behavior to lock down the guy that they're looking to secure. Gynocentrism, hypergamy. Hypergamy is women basically marrying up economically, financially, security-wise. And of course, we live in a gynocentric society where virtually everything, with family law and that sort of stuff always favors a woman. So it's a very intelligent move for them. So you just have to have that red pill awareness that that's their imperative, that that's what they're looking to try to do. And they'll do anything to convince you they'll basically tell you what you want to hear and do what you want to do to lock you down. That's why a lot of guys, if you talk to them that have been married for a while, you'll probably hear some sound bites along the lines of, well, everything was great up until the wedding, and then, we stopped having epic sex and we just had sexual intercourse, which is a totally different thing. Now, some other examples, like I've heard stories about, women that will just bend over backwards to capitulate and make a guy happy so that they can lock down the opportunity for marriage. I mean, I've come across a lot of women at my age when I date, the single mothers that have all been divorced, and you start to hear sound bites along the lines of, because they start telling you about their story, why they got married and then how they got divorced, and it usually ends up being something like, something along the lines, and this isn't all of them, but on a balance of probabilities, if I were to take 10 women, 6 of them or 7 of them would probably, repeat this sort of soundbite, which is something like, I just felt like I found the right guy and I wanted to settle down and have kids, so we went and did it. And quite often, there's actually a really funny Chris Rock stand-up portion. I think it's in his stand-up comedy called Never Scared. And he goes, fellas, the number one reason why women are pissed off at you, your woman is pissed off at you, is because you weren't her first choice. And the entire audience erupts into laughter because they all know it's true. Whenever you hear an audience erupt into laughter over stand-up comedy, it's because there's an enormous amount of truth to the narrative that's being told. It's not fictional, it's because there's an enormous amount of truth. That's why they're laughing at it. Now, you just have to be careful. So, at this stage of the game, you've hopefully tuned into your intuition. You're probably very successful. Maybe you've bought your first house or saved up 50 to 100 grand, set aside some money for the future and what you want to build and where you want to go. So you have to pay very, very close attention to what women are doing that you're dating or potentially getting into a relationship with. Pay very close attention to what they do, pay very little attention to what they say, and you always have to keep your eyes open and your ears open to the underlying truth of the feminine imperative, which is the baby rabies, and the fact that the majority of women out there in the dating pool are looking to reproduce. If you don't have kids, stay away from women that have children. I'll put a link up on the top right of the screen for a video that I did many moons ago about a guy who didn't have kids that moved into a woman's life around that age, and you can, hear the story for yourself. But if you're a single guy with no kids from no prior relationship, just, stick to single women that have no kids. You can do what you were doing in your 20s. You may want to consider the option to settle down if you want to have kids. But just open your mind to the possibility that the narrative, that the programming, that all the stuff that society, your family, religion, and friends' pressures and family pressures have been hammering into you your entire life to settle down, have kids, and do the right thing, and be a man. Make the right choice if you're going to do that. All I'm saying is make the right choice, because there's nothing, and I mean nothing, in the world that can ruin your life faster than making the wrong decision and marrying the wrong woman. I promise you, take heed, fellas, take heed. Listen up. Make sure you pick the right one. Don't just settle down. Don't be her second or third choice. Don't pick the wrong woman that's acting and, vying for an Oscar nomination and she's going to receive the award. I had a email from a guy. I'm never going to forget this one. It was recently. And he was telling me he really appreciated the videos, and thanks everybody that sends me the thank you notes. But he was telling me this brief story about how he was married up until he was about 44, and he lived through an era where he worked his ass off, had a well-paying job. His wife was a stay-at-home mom. The kids went to school. She still stayed at home. And basically, during the era from 2008, 2009, where he lost the vast majority of his wealth, but still worked his ass off to try to fix things, he was telling me that, his wife spent all of her time doing yoga, fixing herself, taking care of her body, and doing all the self-care while he was working his ass off, and then journaling every night about what a failure of a husband that he was to her. And then when she had the opportunity to divorce him for the right financial rewards, she went right down the rabbit hole and did it. So it happens, guys. If you're looking for some coaching or some clarity on this subject, this is something I could make a very long video about, but I'm going to try to keep this as short as possible for you today. My Clarity link is above, clarity.fm/Richard Cooper. It helps keep the bills paid and me doing these videos. Of course, like and leave me a comment below, fellas. If you have an experience that's relevant for other subscribers watching these videos or other people viewing these videos, leave a comment below and let them know what your experience is. I know it helps the community out tremendously. And of course, share this video with somebody that might need to see it. Thanks so much for checking out my stuff. Have an amazing day. Peace.